and get large numbers of our students going to school. And so it was agreed that, look, temporarily, and I repeat, the word is temporarily, let us get two of the cohorts going to school. And by getting them to go to school, it means that we need to run the semester system. So the first batch will go, then when they come back home, whereas the others are at home, then also getting tuition elsewhere, the second batch can also go. So by so doing, the gold track, then the green track was introduced. Now, just after 2019, when we were thinking that we'll be able to face it out, then in 2020, COVID also visited us, and we were hit hard by COVID. And if you could recall, from somewhere the month of March, the country, we had to close down Ghana, so lock down all the educational institutions because of COVID, and we came back the last 2 months of 2020. So before we came back, the question was, how do we ensure that all the contact hours lost and the period lost are recovered so that the academic calendar will not be disturbed?
So we're trying to make up for lost.
Exactly. So another temporary arrangement was put in place to enable the JHS students come to school to come and complete the curriculum or complete the syllabus to enable them to write the exam. So these two arrangements were temporary arrangements to get them to come and finish the work. Then in 2021, we continue with it to enable them get the work done. So if this particular point in time, something that was granted you because based upon temporary arrangement, and you think that you want to make it permanent, you come to the table. You come to the table per the collective agreement so that it will be discussed, negotiated, and agreed upon. Then even look at whether the system you want to introduce is even good for the basic level or not. We adopted the semester system for the SHS and then the GHS as temporary arrangement, given the exigencies and the challenges that confronted the nation at the time. And it was not something that we agreed there should be a permanent thing. So when somebody is saying now we're consulting, no, it was about because of the temporary nature of the challenges at the time, these things were done, and it must be placed on record as such.
Now, he further notes that the new arrangement increases automatically their contact period without prior notice, and this can affect the quality of teaching and learning.
With the semester system, no student goes to the lecture hall to stay there from morning 7 a.m. up to 3:30 p.m. It doesn't happen because the times are scheduled. Right. So the whole day, you can have a student who have only 2 hours, right, the whole day. So Monday, I will just look at my timetable. I have only 2 hours. So I go, let's say, from 8 to 10. I am done the whole day. On Tuesday, I have, let's say, 2 periods. So that will be 4 hours. I am done. But you are introducing a semester at the basic level where you are asking the teachers and the students to go to school from 7 to around 3:30 p.m. Now, guess what? By that, if you are asking somebody to go to school from 7:30 to 3:30, look at the arrangement. The worker will have to start from the house or start preparing from the house around 4 a.m. And you must leave your house by 5 a.m. because you are going to board trotro to enable you to get to school. And once classes begin at 7, you must get to school by 6 to prepare the students before classes begin at 7. And you are going to be with them from now 7 a.m. up to 3:30 p.m. Now, at the basic level, like I've told, we teach, we don't lecture. I repeat, at the basic level, we teach.
That is Thomas Musa. He's the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT. Now, another group, that is education think tank, Africa Education Watch, has also kicked against this new arrangement. For them, it will affect the quality, it will affect quality assurance and not give teachers the space to upgrade. In fact, they insist that this decision must be taken with the consent of Parliament. Kofi Asare is the Executive Director.
Exactly. No case has been made against the traditional trimester system, which predates independence. This trimester system, this semester system we are discussing, it's a stopgap measure occasioned by the double track, introduction due to the free senior high school. So it is only logical that, after double track ends, we revert to the trimester. You don't change century-old policy traditions on the basis of nothing. There is no established unsurmountable flaw in the trimester system. So why are we changing it or replacing it permanently with a semester system that only came about as a result of a double track emergency as part of the free senior high school? We think that there is no consultation, there is no buy-in, there is no consensus, as we made to believe. There is no basis to discuss the migration or the change from trimester to semester within the secretary. And so we can adapt it as a temporary measure. Once government completes the expansion of senior high schools, we revert to single track and we revert to our trimester system.
Well, I've seen an outright rejection, especially from the teachers, for instance. They cite further consultation among others. But as an Education Watch, have you considered or even thought about how good perhaps this semester system may be for the pupils?
No, because the discussion on the semester system should come on the back of flaws in the trimester system. You don't amend the policy, you don't change the policy if the policy is not deficient. We have not seen any case made against the effectiveness of the trimester system, for which reason we cannot have a discussion on the benefits of the semester system. We can only have a discussion on the disbenefits of the semester system, which includes, among others, constricting the ability of teachers to undertake sandwich programs to upgrade during vacations. Because in April, when they're supposed to be in the university doing sandwich, they are going to be in school per the new calendar. And then in June, they won't be available. So they will be doing a 16-week program in just 3 weeks, between December week 3 and January week 2. That does not assure quality assurance for their diploma program, which is upgrading them from QMate to BS.
That's the Executive Director of Africa Education Watch. Now let's go on to the phone lines now. The latest to kick against this move is the Ghana National Association of Private Schools. We have the president joining us live here on Top Story, Dr. Damascus Turuson. Thank you very much, sir, for your time here on the show. You indicated that you are not able to make amends, you're unable to make adjustment to this new semester system because you resumed school last week. Why is that? What will this cost you?
Thank you very much. I've indicated that no one has given us sufficient reasons to make those amends, and that in the event that we are not given plausible reasons why it is necessary to go semester, we are not going to bend backward and try to get that done. You see, running an educational system needs planning. It needs sufficient time for people to adjust to systems. So if you wake up one day and you want everyone to go semester, that is impossible in our circumstances because it will need resource realignment. It will need us to sit down and look at our finances, how we spread it over a semester instead of trimester. You know that in our case, you even have to sit down and cost your how to run your education trimester by trimester. And we have been doing that over a certain period. If we are to change to semester, you need to do a different kind of costing to see how much you collect as fees in a semester and see what goes into your expenditure for the semester as against a trimester system. But bottom line of all this is that it is needless. No one has advanced any good reasons for it. And for that matter, we are not ready or willing to go along with the semester system.
Are you saying that you were not consulted at all? You didn't see this coming?
No one ever consulted us. no one ever mentioned this at any forum or, at any opportunity that we had for any discussions with stakeholders. It never came up at all.
But Dr. Truson, we are talking also about unison in the education system. If we have students in the private schools run a trimester, when students in the public schools are going to run a semester system, that will create some problems and challenges in the system, even for a final assessment at the end of the day.
You see, but the education authorities should have realized this. Didn't the ministry know that there's something called unionism in running an education system? Is GES not aware of that? Are they only aware of a public sector in the scheme of things? Are they not aware of a private sector? And don't they think that the private sector is a major, huge stakeholder? At the basic level, we are talking about 40% of all schools being private. And they can just take a decision without thinking that these other stakeholders matter and therefore should be brought into the scheme of things. I don't understand that.
But if you look at the policy, for instance, you're going to have students stay in school for 20 weeks. That is enough time to cover up, and to, make amends for the losses in terms of the time because of the arrangement we've had over the last few years due to the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the double track system for those in the senior high schools. That should help us recover the time that has been lost. Isn't that good for the education system?
Look, it's not going to help anybody to recover anything. It's rather going to be enough time to burn these students out, get them fed up. You see, there's a limit to what the brain can take at any particular time. If you go at a particular trimester which takes too long, which takes as long as 20 weeks, the students will find the learning becoming like a chore. They get fed up, they get bored, they get burnt out, and you are not recovering any educational outcomes through such a long stretch. Rather, you chop it into three blocks that students can take at a time, and they will learn better through that, not through this long stretch.
So you're saying that it simply cannot work for you. But are you not supposed to be guided by the policy of the Ghana Education Service, even as private sector, business people, as far as our schools are concerned?
Well, definitely we get guided by what they do. But we are not compelled to do exactly what they do, particularly when it pertains to academic calendar and structuring our system.
Subsequently, if the Ghana Education Service meets you, and we have just seen a statement that has been released by the service, we'll be bringing details to our listeners shortly. If you are called to the table and this is further explained, will you, are you ready to make a U-turn on this?
Definitely not for this academic year, because we have structured our academic calendar already for the whole year. First term, where first term begins and ends, second term, and so on. So we are definitely not bending backwards to accommodate this for this particular academic year. If they come to the table with a discussion, we can only consider it in subsequent academic years.
Dr. Turuso, I'm grateful that you could join us. That's the president of the Ghana National Association of Private Schools, kicking against this new directive, this new arrangement by the Ghana Education Service, introducing a semester system for basic schools, where pupils will have to stay in school for 20 weeks per semester. We've been joined, Kweku Asante joins me in the studio with a statement by the Ghana Education Service, further explaining the issue about consultation. Remember that the teacher unions have kicked against this strongly, citing various reasons. We've heard from the Ghana National Association of Teachers. We also have picked up information NAGRAT is against this. We've heard from the Africa Education Watch, and shortly we'll be hearing from the minority on the Education Committee. They have also raised issues with this, but the Ghana Education Service has released a statement. Kweku, it's explaining its position further.
Ernest, so this statement is sort of an explanation, a further explanation of what the PRO of the Education Service, Cassandra Chumampofu, had said earlier. First, she would not confirm at the time whether or not they had consulted the teacher unions, but says that they were looking forward to meeting them. This letter actually says that there was a certain committee that we know was put together by the minister to look at restructuring the academic calendar of the basic schools and the pre-tertiary institutions. This statement says these teacher unions were part of that committee, and that it was this committee that made that kind of recommendation. Let me take you through that part of the statement. It says, management of the Ghana Education Service has taken note of the concerns raised in the press release by the unions in education about the new academic calendar and contact hours for schools. Indeed, the Ministerial Committee on Schools Calendar engaged reps of the unions and school heads. However, we will continue to engage the unions and other stakeholders if they have noted additional concerns since the release of the calendar. So this is affirming the position now taken by the Ghana Education Service that the teachers have been engaged, when the teachers clearly have come out to say that they were not engaged. The statement continues that management has invited the unions to a meeting on Thursday, 20th January 2022, to discuss the additional issues raised. Meanwhile, management wishes to welcome back students because of my first year school. So this letter in two legs, first arguing and claiming that the teacher unions were consulted.
Part of the committee.
Yes, consulted to take their views, and also that the ministry is inviting them for a meeting on Thursday to ensure that they are able to look at the issues.
Kweku, thank you very much for bringing us those details. And earlier, the PR of the Education Ministry had agreed to speak to us on this. We are unable to get him on the line. Once we raise him, we'll bring you some more on this latest decision by the Ghana Education Service. Of course, the ministry is the ministry that looks over this agency and its activities. But the minority in Parliament has also been reacting to this. The deputy ranking member on the Education Committee of Parliament, Dr. Clement Park, has issued a statement on this. Kweku, you have details of it. What does it say?
So this statement says, it is interesting to know that a technical committee was set up by the Minister for Education under the chairmanship of the Deputy Minister instead of the professionals, the Director General of the Ghana Education Service himself, or any of his two deputies. This committee was to propose the calendar for the approval of the minister. This is one of the reasons why the release of dates for the academic calendar delayed.
Okay.
Why should the Ministry of Education take over the responsibility of the Ghana Education Service in the preparation of a common academic calendar? Is the Ministry of Education becoming the policy-making body and the implementer at the same time? The outcome of the committee's work, which we describe as, quote, professionally wrong, is the introduction of the semester type of academic calendar in our basic schools from kindergarten to the junior high school level. It is on record that last year, the system was introduced at the junior high school level with the explanation that it was aimed at making the students and teachers cover what was lost as contact hours in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It is now clear that our academic year begins from January and ends in December per the new academic calendar. The arrangement by itself has a lot of ramifications for the students, pupils, and teachers with respect to the examination calendar of WAEC. It is expected that from Tuesday, 18 January 2020, our children in the basic schools are to run a semester of 20 weeks. We know that a normal semester runs for 16 weeks. So why make it 20 weeks for basic schools? This means that 2022 academic year, 2 semesters will be run. What is intriguing about the academic calendar is the failure of the technical committee to consider the age of the learners for whom they have developed the calendar. Hitherto, we know of 3 terms in the year with clear enough days and weeks for both learners and teachers to rest and prepare for the next term of between 12 and 14 weeks. With this current arrangement, both learners and teachers are at risk. The age of the learners, it is noted, makes it impossible to absorb anything tangible after 12 long weeks.
And this is a point that was also made by the NAT, that's the General Secretary of NAT, Thomas Musa, talking about the hours that they spend with the kids. If it's too long for him, it creates a problem.
Right. So the statement continues that another factor that does not make the semester program conducive for basic schools is the environment within which teaching and learning takes place. In many of our basic schools throughout the country, infrastructure is the biggest challenge. Some schools are conducted under trees, dilapidated classrooms where ventilation is poor. Furniture is another limitation in our schools, and many learners bring kitchen stools from the house. How do we expect children as young as 4 or 6 to sit in poorly ventilated classrooms, and on top of that, and also to fit furniture for 20 weeks? And so the minority clearly have taken a stance that this is not a position that is workable.
And I would simply want to read the conclusion of this statement that has been issued. He says the minority wishes to call on the Ghana Education Service and the Ministry of Education to withdraw the outdoor academic calendar because it lacks professional touch for a more academic friendly and healthy one to be considered. The minority also wishes to call on the Ghana Education Service to maintain its professional stance and not allow the Minister of Education to dictate the pace for them. The academic calendar is an importation which does not suit our Ghanaian educational environment. As a minority, we wish to state that the Committee of Parliament on Education was neither consulted nor briefed on the calendar, and the changes in the calendar, just like the teacher unions. As stakeholders in education, we fully support the teacher unions in whatever democratic means they will take to stop this semester system being imposed on them. Let's go on to the phone lines now, and Dr. Park joins us with more on this. Dr. Park, we're grateful that you could join us here on Top Story. Briefly, you say that this lacked a professional touch. What is wrong with the Ghana Education Service, and with the Ministry of Education, ensuring that its agency, the Ghana Education Service, does this in a manner that they deem fit?
Well, first of all, let me say good evening to you and good evening to listeners. Yes, the ministry is the recognized mother institution which is supposed to deal with anything to do with teaching and learning. And of course, it has agencies, including the Ghana Education Service. But common sense and custom and practice would indicate that the ministry and its agencies are not islands. They have institutions that they work with, including the teacher unions, including education sector think tanks, and including the Parliamentary Subcommittee on Education. That stands to reason that even when there's going to be any major policy, new policy, developed or even to be developed and implemented, the input of other stakeholders, particularly when it is the teachers who are going to ensure that whatever policy initiated by government is giving effect. So we clearly side with the teacher unions, and we believe that this trimester system announced only yesterday or so, on the back of the announcement of the delayed calendar for basic schools, ought to be withdrawn for further and detailed consultation and analysis based on data, based on science and research. I don't know whether you have seen the reasons that the ministry has proffered to justify this. But in any case, how do you decide without conferring with those who are supposed to be in the middle of the theater, the teachers, to change from a trimester to a semester system for basic schools?
Well, Dr.
When
Park,
you know
this
that this will have implications for workload, this is clearly going to have implications for the learners themselves, and the teachers
But there will also be implications for the entire education system if this withdrawal that you're calling for is implemented, because this arrangement is supposed to be almost immediate. And you have raised concerns with the delay in reopening, for instance. Once this is withdrawn, then you'd obviously have further delays in beginning the academic year for students.
No, there was an academic calendar before this new one was introduced. We know for a fact that the semester system came into being as a stopgap measure. It is a product of the double track and the challenges that we were having containing students. Subsequently, it was brought down to the junior high school level. There is no reason to justify why it should be extended to KG to primary 6. Do you truly believe that it will serve us well as a nation for KG primary 1, 2, 3 pupils to go to school a whole 5 months before taking a break? In which part of the world is this being done? Why are we trying to fix a problem that does not exist? The trimester system predates independence. It has served us well. If the ministry feels that there is any reason why it should be changed, it is a more reason why there should have been broad stakeholder consultation.
Once they have gone ahead with this, as deputy ranking on the education committee, would you invite the ministry to provide you and furnish you with details?
I haven't even gotten to that yet. Our position is that it should be withdrawn. We, the NDC side in Parliament, we have seen our statement. It should be withdrawn. We have not been consulted as Parliament. As a member of the Education Committee of Parliament, a deputy ranking member, I'm in leadership. I heard about this just like the rest of you. And that is most unfortunate.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clement Opak. That's the Deputy Ranking on the Education Committee of Parliament. And that's it for Top Story, brought to you by Vodafone and Prime Insurance. Prime Insurance, rest assured you are insured. My name is Ernest Minu. Up next is the news. We have news highlights for you, and then we'll move into the commentary. Ghana is playing, and you definitely have the sports team on standby to give you the best of commentary. Stay with us.